I wasn't seeing the recording up on the left-hand side.
Thank
So,
you. Last week, yeah, I always forget something. Well, we missed the first 4 minutes, folks. Sorry, in the recording.
well, we can just recap it really quickly, making sure that everyone's in the direction of the west when in the pyramid it seems to be the most beneficial way. We were talking about what does it mean to be psychic, and a lot of people say knowing things before it happens and having a sense to be able to react or do something differently. And then you just talked about a story. Now let me ask you this story again. You had this vision in your mind that just came to you.
Yeah, I was meditating. I was in a pretty deep, quiet, meditative state, and this image, this vision, just came to me that he had been hurt, and it was like it just popped out of nowhere, and it was quite vivid. I saw blood all over his body, and so I called, and sure enough, he was trying to learn to ride a bike, I guess, and he was over at the neighbors, and he fell off and bloodied his face and knees, hands, elbows, everything.
Well, let's dissect that just for a moment, and I just kind of want to know what people's theory is. How do you suppose he got that image? And I'm just asking anyone to answer that.
I think the universe is basically an information system, and we all have access to that information if we tune into it.
Okay. I like that. Anyone else?
His frequency is right.
Okay.
Like, you know how like
the child
like
frequency is right?
Yeah.
Okay. And do you think maybe he thought of Dad in that moment?
Yep. And that's what I meant by that frequency wise, right?
Okay.
Quantum entanglement.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing? If you listen to Greg Braden, he always talks about that big boom. We all came from that big boom, and that every single particle that came from that, which is everything that's within this universe, we're entangled together, right?
I could relate. I could relate this, not a personal story, but one my brother told me, which I would say he received the information. He was in Vietnam, and there was incoming rounds, and he went outside of his tent talking to a couple of people whenever he said, I got this feeling I should move. So he walked away from those two guys. He came home, and they didn't.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing? And that feeling, that sensation, that's what I'm trying to teach in the classes, to get you really good at feeling your own feelings, your own sensations. Our society is so locked into thinking and thoughts, and this is what it made me feel, or excuse me, this is what I'm thinking, or what are your thoughts about this? Or, I want to know what you're thinking about this. But really, it's all about emotions and feelings. So, Charlie, just really quick, had you tapped into your emotions that much at that point, or were you just starting to meditate and get into all of that?
Well, that was at a point in this was my kind of my awakening time. I was going through separation that ultimately resulted in a divorce from my first wife. So I was actually living alone, and had begun meditating, trying to find a way to put my life back together, to be honest. And so I guess I was more tapped in. That was the first time that I had really started to tap into feelings and emotions, and certainly had been serious about meditating.
So have you had anything since like that?
Not as tangible or, as concrete as that. The only other thing that was even similar, and this happened about 6 months prior to this event, I came home from work one night, and I was tired. I went up just to rest on the bed for a few minutes before dinner. And this blue orb comes into the room. I don't know what else to call it, but it had the outlines of a face. And since I was still going to a Christian church at that point, I thought I saw sort of the image of Jesus's face,
Okay.
but we didn't talk. Whoever or whatever this entity was did not speak to me, but we communicated non-verbally. I mean, we didn't speak orally, but I could tell that this thing had come to me, this entity, to tell me that everything was going to be all right. I knew that I was going through the early stages of a divorce and that was coming. So I was kind of a wreck. And that thing came to me, spoke to me for probably 15, 20 minutes, just telepathically. And
Oh, that's fantastic.
yeah, it was really helpful to me at the moment, because I was starting to sort of lose it a little bit.
Right,
The time when I needed some comfort.
Should
right.
have taken a selfie with it.
If I had it, this was
That would be
before cell
before the
phone stuff.
selfie stick.
Long before cell phones.
Lori, was that the blue avian or the blue spear
Yeah.
that Wilcox was talking about?
Sure.
No, I don't feel that with him. I did feel like it was Christ. So I think he was talking to Christ.
Wow.
And the Christ consciousness is just a really powerful energy. And if anyone ever needs some good power, I would definitely work with the Christ consciousness energy. So that is my suggestion. And all you have to say is, please give me some Christ consciousness energy. Anyone have any other psychic moments that they want to talk about?
I don't know if you'd call it psychic or not, but sometimes I leave the house and I get the feeling I forgot something. I don't know if that's psychic or not.
It is. I'm telling you, it is.
And so I know I packed it, so I don't go back, and I get to where I'm going, and I left my wallet at home. I don't have the idea what it is, but I just get the sensation that I left something there.
Right. Right. And everyone's familiar with their higher selves, correct?
Yes.
So that higher self is able to observe and see things that maybe you might have missed at your level, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Anyone else have any other stories?
So speaking of higher self, this was a few years ago when I was in yoga class.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like at the end of class, you know how you had that quiet moment?
Savasana.
Yeah. And I saw my higher self.
Oh, that's fantastic. What'd you look like?
Kind of like me.
How did you know it was your higher self and that it was different than you?
No, that was like when I saw it, I go, is that my higher self? And then, I mean, that's at that same moment, because I saw it like, and usually I'm not like a clairvoyant person, but I literally saw it like in my third eye.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's my favorite part of yoga, right there, that last part of it. And it seems like the very first one is like the most profound one too. And you try to get back to something similar to that, and it doesn't quite happen. All right, this is what's really important on the next question that I asked on the homework is, when you were a child, what was the first impression of a term, the psychic? Many people said fortune teller. I thought that was interesting. Fortune teller. To me, it reminds me of Wizard of Oz, right? Way back when. And the snake oil, the fortune teller type of things. Anyone want to add to that?
Well, I came from a very Catholic home, so a psychic would have been something evil.
Exactly. Exactly. And imagine if you go around telling someone, wow, I had a psychic vision. What does that mean, Jack?
Which,
You are on the road to perdition.
Right? You're going to Salem, we're going to hang you or burn you, whichever it is, right? But just think about this for a minute. I mean, seriously, if for whatever reason you had these visions that you kept getting that was really helping your life, I mean, and you want to go tell somebody about it, what happens?
They make fun of you.
Make fun of you? Maybe think you might need to be committed?
You need some medicine.
There you go. Maybe skip.
You're hallucinating.
I'll tell you a story. When I was in 7th grade, I would dream my life out in advance. And this one time I dreamt it out 2 weeks in advance. And what was interesting to me is I saw myself skating till midnight. And I know my mom would never, ever let me skate till midnight. So I couldn't quite understand it. And then the whole thing started happening. A friend invited me. And when I started spending the night, next thing you know, that we're talking about skating, and they always skated till midnight at night. And so I was going to be skating that day until midnight, but we went to a place there was this donut shop, and I'll never forget, I remembered in my dream exactly what was going to happen. And I started telling the people I was with, you know, for the next 10 minutes, what was going to happen. And they looked at me like I was crazy, that I had just really lost it. And they really didn't want to talk to me anymore. So that was my impression at 13 years old.
I would have said, hey, tell me what's going to happen.
You know, usually that's the first thing people want. Hey, can you tell me my future? Tell me what's going on with me. Okay, so let me just ask you, in your profession currently, if you went around and told people that you had this intuition, if you had this sense of knowing, how would they react? I mean, Jack, you said a little bit, but I mean, Charlie, I think you're in this pyramid thing that most people would probably be more accepting.
Oh yeah, they accept it, but you know, when I was working on Wall Street, they would have disowned me if I talked about stuff like this.
Or say, tell me the next stock that's going to be a winner. Right?
Well, yeah, oh yeah, of course, yeah.
I have a brother-in-law who says I would need medicine, sure.
A brother-in-law. So this is your sister's husband?
Yes.
Oh, wow. And can I ask you, is he a happy person?
Pardon me?
Is he a happy person?
Well, we always say a bitchin' man is a happy man, so he's pretty happy.
Okay.
Wait, I must be very blessed then.
Well, let's hear it.
Because I have this cardiologist that tells me he sees stuff, and he astros travel when he was like 8 years old.
Oh, that's great. A cardiologist?
Yes.
Is there something wrong with your heart?
No, this is like my customer.
Oh, I see. Okay. So this is like a client customer of yours that he talks about this. How'd you guys get in the conversation?
Oh, because he used to have these like meditations classes. And then for some of his patients and yoga. And that's how we all got started talking. And then he and his daughter, who's also a PA, they see. So they're like clairvoyant. So we always talked about them seeing things.
All right, which leads me to the next question. What did others say about psychics to you? What did you hear they said about psychics? Now, when you were younger, anytime?
They're good guessers.
Well, some people will say they're frauds.
Yeah.
I suppose some of them are, but
Okay, so we're learning how to be psychic. Are these the things you want to feel?
No.
Right. So this is where in our subconscious, we got to be stronger than that and be okay with that. One of our exercises this week was to constantly say, I am psychic. How many of you did it?
I didn't constantly, but I said it.
Oh,
Yeah.
good for you. Good for you. Did you notice anything different when you were saying it?
I can't say that I did.
Anyone else? Did you happen to know you needed to do something before you had to do it? Did you happen to notice, oh, I should grab this because I bet you at home I don't have it? Or I should do this because I'm going to save myself some time if I do this?
Well, I certainly had that experience this week.
Well,
Yeah.
let's hear it.
Well, I mean, this is just about my business, but it's important. My shop is about 20 to 25 minutes away from home, so it really doesn't make sense if I could start to store inventory in the garage, and I had never wanted to ask Carol whether that was okay, and because that way the post office is 5 minutes away. So we talked about that, and what I thought was going to be a big deal turned out to be a nothing. She said, "Oh, sure, no problem." So I'm saving an awful lot of time now.
Oh, that's great. Well, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Anyone else have anything else happen?
Well, yeah, I had one. I was putting
Mark, I was going to say, I know you're getting better at this. I can already feel it. So,
I was putting a gas line into my house, and I had made a couple measurements that were in error, so I had to go out and get a longer pipe to go through the wall. And so I had measured it, and I knew now exactly what length I needed. And then I thought, well, maybe I better get the one a tad longer, because I want to be able to make sure I can check for leaks without having the wall on the way. And fortunately, I listened and took the longer piece, and that's what it took to finish the job.
there you go. And it'll save you time later, right?
Correct. Well, it's hooked up now, and I checked for leaks, and it was good that I did.
Excellent. How many of you have been to a psychic and they actually said something correct or right?
Well, I've been to a psychic, but I didn't feel that what the messages I was getting, I didn't see how they applied to me. And, like the one I got was my mother who has died, and he said that she and my relatives were sitting at the table and awaiting me. So, of course, that makes you wonder.
Yeah, what the heck does that mean?
Of course, in spirit speak, soon could be 1,000 years from now. So
Right, absolutely, absolutely.
As an example of that, on Tuesday night, I went to a hospice seminar where a Dominican Catholic priest about 20 years ago started having souls come to him and seeking assistance in crossing over. And the very first person that he happened with was, he said in a dream he saw this young guy standing at the front of a car when the flames erupted and killed him. And so whenever he started conversing with this soul, the soul was very angry with God and saying, why did he do that? He took me when everything was just starting out fine. Here, that had happened about 30 years prior to when he started getting this visit into the spirit that was angry with God. There was virtually no time had passed, but there was over 30 years since it had happened. So he helps people cross over.
Oh, that's incredible. Wow.
So that, you know, time for a spirit is not like time for us.
Right. That's exactly right. Okay, so another thing you were supposed to do this week is monitor your thoughts. Tell me some of the thoughts that were going on in your mind this week.
I can say some of them weren't very positive.
There you go.
All right, give me an example.
Well, it gets to be a convoluted story, but we'll just say that the court system has intervened in my nephew and his wife's child based on this his quote unquote mother-in-law's opinion. And I get very angry with the way things are gone, and I have actually decided not to invest any emotion in this because it is not healthy for me to get upset over it, because there's nothing I can do about it.
Well, there are things that I mean, when it comes to things like that, you just have to ask yourself, is there anything that you can control in that situation?
Well, what I do is I recite the Ho'oponopono thing.
Yeah,
So
fantastic. Fantastic. Do you know what the Ho'oponopono is?
yes.
Tom, do you know what
Sorry,
that is?
love you.
Pardon me?
I'm sorry, I love you.
Yes, I'm sorry. I
I'm
love
just
you.
asking if
I am
Tom
sorry.
knows.
Please forgive me. Thank you.
So it's, I'm sorry, I love you, please forgive me, thank you, Ho'oponopono.
Yeah.
And you look at the person's photo, you look at the situation, whatever it may be, and say that over and over and over until you feel some peace. Tom, are you aware of that Ho'oponopono?
I've heard of it before, but I had forgotten what the meaning was.
Yeah, Dr. Hugh Lynn started this. It's a Hawaiian term for God make it right. So it's just a very profound thing. It's funny, Bill is not in class this week. He had to miss it. But he had mentioned how he did that. And on a weekly basis, I tell clients to do that. So it's amazing. You know, usually it's with some kind of rift or something that someone's going through. So I have them say that, and things pretty much even out, and everything's okay after that. So it's such a powerful prayer.
There's another thing a person can do, and I run across this in a book written by a psychologist, and he had a client or a patient who was experiencing a very difficult time at work. And she told him that her boss would never promote her, because any time that they were together, her boss would didn't appear to like her. So the psychologist told her that, he says, every time that she walks in the room, you say, I love you, mentally. And he said in about 3 weeks, the boss started speaking with her, and she eventually got a promotion, and things worked out. So I had a foreman at work who I was having an issue with. So I decided to do the I love you. And it did not change him, but it did change me.
Yes.
And so I'm working on a piece of equipment when a fellow worker comes back, and he is nearly in tears when he's telling me that he's going to bid off the job because the foreman doesn't like him and giving him a raft of crap all the time. I bid back to where I was. It takes me 3 hours to get to work, but I'm getting out of here. So I suggested to him the I love you. And he says, "Are you nuts?" I said, "Listen, who's going to know it but you?" And in about 3 weeks, he come back and told me, he says, "Thank you." And he says,
Oh,
"Things have gotten better." Well, then I ended up with a medical issue. I get retired for medical reasons, and I don't see him for any of those guys for a good while. Then they're having a get together of some retirees at the local baseball park. And so I go down, and the foreman, his name was Jerry, he's standing there. And the guy I talked to was Mike. And so Mike comes up, and Jerry says to Mike, "Mike, I've been over to your place 3 times and you're not home. Where have you been?" And so I had just come back from Brazil at that time. I had been down to see John of God. And I go back and sit with Mike, and I said, "What happened?" He said, "I don't know, but when I did what you told me to do with the I love you," he says, "everything changed." So
it does.
I have the personal experience, and
Yeah,
it works.
it does. It's amazing. All right. Anyone else monitor their thoughts and get something out of that? Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, I monitored my thoughts, and I guess I think a lot about restoring my health, longevity, what foods are good for me, my diet. I kind of have the engineering mentality. I'm always trying to solve the problem, fix the problem.
Sure. So in your thought process, just really quick, I want to make sure that you're thinking of things of fully already in health and not in the past like you were not healthy, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I'm not sure I always do that, but.
Yeah, we're going to do an exercise here that maybe it will help you with that and really help you get in the field of that. So we'll do that here right before I got to close here at 3 o'clock because I got to get a little one, but we got about 15 more minutes. Charlie, you were going to say something about your thoughts.
Oh, nothing more than I noticed at the beginning of the week that when I'd think about what I was thinking about, I wasn't thinking about the stuff I wanted to think about. I was thinking about and so by midweek I started to be more conscious of the fact that I wasn't thinking about and affirming the things that I wanted rather than thinking about the stuff that I didn't want. So it really did seem to make a difference in regard to the goals that I put down. I've seen some tangible improvement.
And just really quickly, those things that you were thinking about that you didn't want to think about, were they past problems that were already taken care of, or are there still situations that need to be taken care of? I'm just kind of curious there.
Well, there are things in the present that I'm want to see resolved. And early in the week, when I was focusing on the fact that they weren't solved yet, they kept being not solved. But when I started focusing on the concept, as you say, of thinking about them as completed already, I am making this much money, or I am getting this problem solved, or this problem is solved, then everything moved in the right direction.
Excellent. Okay. Anyone else have anything with their thoughts that they had happen this week? All right, and meditation. How well did we do in meditating with the pyramid 10 minutes a day? So that was no issue for you, Jen.
When am
I generally try at least a half hour.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, well, 10 minutes is just the minimum. Whatever you can do is fantastic after that.
Yeah. I guess a question I had on that up until this week, I was focusing more on, affirming the stuff that I wanted while I was under the pyramid. But this week, I went back to just trying to be in a state of total, non-thought and relaxation. And that seemed to really improve things for me. It's almost like I wrote down the things that I wanted to work on that piece of paper. And I was going to ask you if this was a good idea. I actually put them under my chair inside the pyramid where I meditate. And I really never thought consciously about them all week, but they all started to both issues began to improve dramatically.
I just got an orb when you said that, Charlie. So that's right on.
Oh, okay.
Do you guys ever get orbs, like little confirmation of orbs?
No.
I haven't seen orbs in a long time.
Okay. Okay.
So for me, I can sit around 10-ish and then I get antsy. So I don't know, what is it about?
You do the pyramid for 10 minutes in meditation and then you get antsy?
Yep.
My suggestion is always to ground yourself. So if you've been in the pyramid and you haven't thought about grounding yourself, I would ground yourself.
Okay, thank you.
What is your process for grounding?
It's a great question. You just think of the core of your body and you just imagine it going down through your sacral and your roots of your chakras down into the ground, into the earth. And I always like wrap it around. So just visually thinking about doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you breathe through it, or?
It's important to breathe through it.
Through the cord. Do you breathe through the cord?
I think that's a great idea. All right, if we're ready for the exercise we're going to do here, I want to continue monitoring the thoughts for the week. I want to continue the affirmation of I am psychic. People were complaining about the homework, so no homework this week except for meditation, monitoring your thoughts, affirmation, I am psychic. And then we're going to do this one. So if everyone's ready, you can close your eyes, take a deep breath in. I want you to think of the moments that you were truly in love, that you truly felt that true love feeling, and I want you to focus it on your heart. When you feel that sensation out of your heart, I want you to have that energy and that frequency go out 50 feet in front of you. Completely circulate yourself with that energy. Put it all around you. And we're going to add in the quantum field. So you're feeling that frequency and vibration go out 50 feet and all around you, 50 feet. And you're feeling that frequency of the quantum field with it. You're staying in the present moment, but I want you to think of things that you really want to have happen. Tom, you were talking about you are healthy. You feel so healthy. That may mean you're riding a bike or doing a marathon, whatever health equates to you. Maybe it's eating an apple. taking action towards your health. For me this month, it's eating raw. We have a student out of this class that has eaten raw for the last 2 years. One of his favorite things to eat are sprouts, and he grows them himself, so it's pretty cool. He wasn't able to make it this week, maybe next week. So again, we're in that quantum field with our heart, sending the love out, and you can feel a pulsation when you do that. If you don't, let me know if you don't feel that pulsation, because I can check your energy. But you should be feeling a pulsation. If we're thinking of wealth, think of that bank statement you're looking at in that quantum field, and it's got a certain amount on the bank statement. And you can even look at a particular date on the bank statement, that maybe January 20th or something like that. And any tension or anything you're feeling in your body, I just want you to put it in that field to kind of let it melt it away. Any diagnosis, any arguments, any lost loves, anything that used to make you angry that maybe still triggers you. Not enough time in the day. Not enough sleep at night. Anything that you can think of, you want to put in that field. Now think of something you really want to achieve in life. That if you could be of service and do anything that you know that could help the world, what would it be? Take one deep breath in, exhaling out. You can go ahead and open your eyes. One other exercise I'd like you to do, if you have bottles, like for example, whether it's bottles in the garage or bottles underneath the sink or bottles somewhere that you know have something in them, I want you to look at these containers and gauge whether they're full or halfway or empty. Now, this is part of your psychic exercise. I want you to check to see. I don't want you to touch them or get near them until you're completely sure what you think you feel in them. And then go touch them and lift them and see if your sensation was correct. Does everyone understand that exercise?
Wait, can you repeat, please?
So say, for instance, underneath your bathroom cabinet, you may have shampoo and conditioner and hairspray and, you know, soaps and body washes and things like that. A lot of times they'll be in a bottle that you can't see whether or not they're full or empty.
Okay.
And what I want you to do is try to get a sensation of whether or not the bowl is empty or full just by feeling it in the cupboard, if that makes sense.
Got it.
Okay. Another good way, if you don't have bottles, feel your plants. Feel whether or not the plants are needing water or they don't need water. That's another good way of testing your psychic ability. These are good ways that you can do it on your own and not worry about who's looking at me, who's judging me, who's doing what, right? I was trying to think of ways to exercise that you can do this in your own privacy, and if you're wrong, it doesn't matter, you know? But then you can feel the sensation of what it feels like full, and you can feel the sensation of what it feels like empty. Or the plant, you can feel what it feels like dry, or you feel what it feels like wet. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
When I get a text message, I often say, okay, this is from so-and-so. And sometimes I'm right.
Wow.
You get what?
Sometimes I'm
You
right.
get what?
If I hear my phone ding for a text message, and I'll say, oh, that's from my daughter, or it's from my sister.
Well, there you go.
Sometimes I'm right.
Oh, that's good. That's fantastic.
But if you do it every time, maybe you'll get more right.
You're correct.
Huh? All right, any questions?
No.
So I guess these items under the sink or whatever, we are to look at themselves so that we know that there's a container there, and then guess what, or imagine or feel what is in there.
Yeah, hang on a minute. All right. 2 containers here.
Oh, okay.
Are they empty or full?
Empty.
I'd say the one on my left is 3/4 full. The one on the right is half full.
Could you name them?
Okay, this is borax. Borax
Borax
we think is what?
Half full.
Yeah, it's half.
And this?
3/4.
Yeah, that's more.
Yeah, 2/3, 3/4.
And then what made you think that? There I said it. What made you feel that way?
To me, the way you were holding them, it looked
Yeah.
like the jug looked heavier, the box looked lighter.
This,
Yes.
where my finger is right here, is where it is.
Wow, we
So
missed
it's
that one.
full.
So it's full.
It's full. So
So
that's
I was
where you
wondering
can't
that
use your thoughts there. But here,
Yeah.
it's down to here.
Well, I had them reversed.
So feeling, it's all about the feeling, right?
Okay.
But
Good.
you get what we're talking about here. So feel it. Take some time. Don't just guess right away. Okay?
Cool.
And your plants, you can kind of go, okay, they're really super dry, or they're really okay wet, or man, these are really wet, right?
Yeah.
Tom, are those real plants behind you?
No.
No, okay. I was gonna say, let's use those plants right there.
Too hard to water up there.
Super dry.
They're really dry.
All right. Well, thank you for class, you guys. Again, if you need me at all, let me know. I'd like to know if any of you would like to share your information to the other classmates so you guys could chat and have conversations, because so many of you, there's 3 people in this class that do dowsing. And I think that's wonderful. And I think the more that you work with people that have like minds and are really trying to do this, the more it enhances your ability. So think about that and let Charlie know, because he seems to have the good addresses.
Yeah. If anyone is willing, in fact, let's do it in the affirmative. If you were willing to share your information with other class members, please let me know. I've been purposefully BCCing everyone on these so that until we ask that question.
Okay. Well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm willing. I can tell you right now.
All right, I am too. But just send me an email if you would, telling me you're okay with that. And
All
that
right.
we'll put together. And Lori, one thing I was going to say, I don't know what you're thinking about, but Zoom does have an ability, if you would like it over the next couple of classes, to do breakout rooms where people could chat together, as a small group or something like that.
Charlie,
Just something to think
I
about.
was still wanting to do that because I want a couple people, like I was going to have you and Carol do this, but while you're in your pyramids, just kind of close your eyes and meditate and try to connect to one another. I was really wanting to do that. If we could do that with each other in a class.
Oh, absolutely. No, we can have separate chat rooms. You just have to have one person, at least one person in a room, but we can pair up. We can have as many chat rooms as
Oh, great. Okay, let's chat about that this week. That's great.
Okay. All right, cool.
Thank you, guys. See you
Thank
next
you, Laura.
week. Same time.
Thank you, Laura.
Okay,
All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye.